Tech Talk channel warmly welcomes you. Today we will talk about the free VPN service, Lantern VPN, a tool for bypassing censorship, which is ideal both for Russia and for users in other countries with strict censorship. How does Lantern VPN work? It's simple, and that's exactly what I want to talk about, as well as the innovative solutions from Lantern for bypassing censorship that make it one of the best free options available. But first, for those who are very busy, let me quickly show you how Lantern VPN works. You go to the website, download it. The app is cross-platform, meaning it's available for all major systems. In my case, I'm interested in Windows. Install it. That's it. The service is connected. The Roskomsvoboda website works. A more challenging task for Russia. YouTube works. Done. Now you have a free VPN that actually works. Now those who are very busy can go about their business, but those who have an extra 10 minutes can learn a lot more, including the fact that we spoke with Adam Fisk, the CEO of Lantern, and got some comments from him about Lantern specifically and about bypassing censorship in general. I'll insert these comments throughout the story about the app, starting with the obvious question: what is Lantern VPN in general?
Lantern is a censorship circumvention tool that's used by millions of users around the world. Globally, I think over all time, we've been downloaded something like 150 million times. We're primarily used in the most heavily censored regions, so China, Russia, Iran. We also have a lot of users in the UAE and in Myanmar. We're a US-based nonprofit. And we're just working hard every day to keep the world free from censorship, and that's really our mission, is to open the world's information to everybody.
To make the information accessible to us, we've done everything already. Let's quickly go through the interface. Lantern opens in a browser upon launch. Here you can enable or disable it. For example, we were in Germany, and now we are back in the Russian Federation. There's a Lantern VPN icon in the tray where you can also enable or disable it. There's a review button, but I'll cover that at the end. It shows how much high-speed traffic is left. It looks scary, but it's just the traffic at high speed. In the free version, once you reach the limit, the speed drops, but it's not critical. Settings include switching to Pro mode if you need faster internet without limits or want to support the project. The prices are quite affordable, and that's pretty much it. Settings include language selection, launching on system start, sending debugging information, and possibly enabling proxying of all traffic. By default, this is turned off, and it's better not to enable it unless necessary. Normally, only traffic to blocked sites is routed through the proxy. And that's it again. Now the impatient ones can turn off. While those in a Zen-like state, I'll ask Adam how they manage to bypass censorship, as it's becoming more challenging every day. It's no longer a craft, but an art. And again, for those in a Zen-like state after this question, I'll tell you about a groundbreaking feature that, in my opinion, represents a small breakthrough.
Lantern uses a whole bunch of different techniques to stay unblocked. I think we've forgotten more techniques than I could probably relay to you in terms of what we're using today. But a lot of them center maybe around this notion of collateral freedom. So this idea that you want to hide in network traffic or services that are commonly used and commonly relied upon, such that if censors were to block them or take them down in some way, the economy itself of the country would experience some collateral damage as a result of that. So we want to make it very costly for censors to block the things that we do, whether it's a network protocol like DNS or something like that, or whether it's a website where we distribute our installers that runs over HTTPS. And in that case, because the censor can't see exactly where you're going on an HTTPS site, they would have to block the entire site to block Lantern's installers. So we use a lot of techniques like that, but also Lantern is sort of continually evolving. So we're continually discovering new approaches, whether it's internally or in collaboration with researchers, and are then implementing those and continually roll out new versions, on a weekly basis all the time.
By the way, a piece of advice regarding Lantern and other censorship bypass services: regularly update the app on your PC and mobile device. If the VPN stops working, the first thing you should do is update. The situation with censorship bypass changes daily. With Lantern, you don't need to uninstall it first, just download the new version from the website and install it. So, now about the wheel Lantern invented. It's called Browser Unbounded. It works like this. You enable the checkbox, and now you're helping someone. Who and how? You're helping people living in countries with internet censorship, and in the process, you're also helping Lantern by reducing their server load. Essentially, you become an exit node for some user who has enabled Lantern, for instance, in China. For that particular user, traffic does not go through Lantern servers but through you. But it's not that simple. Let me explain in more detail. First, what's here? There's a widget on some site, in this case on Lantern's website, with a checkbox you can enable. You can also install a browser plugin so you don't have to visit the site with the widget. You can just enable the checkbox in your browser. When it's on, you're helping. When it's off, you're not. You can even take this widget and add it to your site so people visiting your site can click the checkbox and start helping someone. It's important to understand that in this case, it's not your site becoming an exit node, but the computer of the user who clicked the checkbox. Here's the essence of the technology. To use a VPN, you need to rent a server outside your country and connect to it. Lantern, Amnesia, or VPN Gen also rent servers, but not for themselves. They do it for you if they're offering a free VPN. Essentially, they're spending their own money. But Lantern came up with this technology. Someone in a censorship-free country is willing to volunteer, and part of the traffic doesn't go through Lantern servers but through their personal computer. It's a complex distributed technology, meaning it's not a direct connection like with a traditional VPN. Instead, Lantern servers distribute parts of the packets among volunteer servers. This approach avoids legal issues for volunteers related to activities performed by users on the other end of the tunnel. There have been scary stories about owners of exit nodes in the Tor network. In my opinion, those are just stories, but Lantern has accounted for this potential risk and mitigated it. So I'll ask Adam Fisk about the technology and whether they plan to reduce Lantern server loads with Browser Unbounded.
Browser Unbounded is really a new project, so we're actively working on it. It's very simple from the user's perspective, but under the hood, there's a lot of things happening. So it's actually very, very sophisticated at a protocol level. There are a bunch of layers that take a while to, even for us to wrap our heads around, to be honest. So it's initially it'll like every sort of modern technology company does, we'll be rolling it out to a smaller subset of users, and then as we refine it, as it works, it doesn't work, we'll push it out further and pull it back. But ideally, over time, it will be will come to carry a lot of Lantern traffic. Lantern, globally, and over the last several years, has carried as much as over 200 gigabits a second. So it's there's a lot of traffic to be had, but initially it'll just be a subset of that traffic. Still a significant amount, but a subset.
Another interesting technology, which is in the testing stage but already works quite well, is based on peer-to-peer, P2P, like torrent. You upload a file, for instance, a video, and all Lantern users act as seeders. I haven't delved deeply into this and I have some questions, but overall it works. In theory, this could be a lifeline even in the event of a total external internet shutdown. The content would remain accessible and at good speeds. Incidentally, I found myself there. Someone uploaded a video from the Tech Talk channel. Perhaps if I do a follow-up, I'll dig deeper and explain it further. For now, I'll end this video with a question for Adam. Who else in the censorship circumvention segment does he highlight? And does anyone else have breakthrough ideas like Browser Unbounded?
In terms of other organizations out there that are doing interesting work that we like, we certainly work very closely with the Outline team over at Google Jigsaw. Those guys are doing some really innovative work with proxyless solutions, for example. So figuring out approaches that don't require a proxy, which are nice because they're fast, cheap, and often the user experience can be really, really great. And those guys have also been doing a really good job with the Outline SDK that makes it that's sort of a reusable building block that other tools can build on top of. I think a lot of the innovations that I see in censorship circumvention have more to do with structuring work across organizations in a more efficient way and structuring code across organizations in a more efficient way versus some new fancy technology that's out there. That being said, we are also very interested and are actively working with some other collaborators out there on WebAssembly-based transports that have two great advantages. One is that you can write them in almost any programming language and can compile to WebAssembly. And then they also can be deployed in real time. So without updating the app, that you can deploy a new transport in real time. So a much more sort of pluggable version of pluggable transports which is a sort of a notion that has been around for a long time, which Lantern already uses, and many tools also use extensively. So the water team of the University of Colorado is doing great work in close collaboration with us on that approach. Also, we talk very frequently with Siphon. Those guys are very effective and are implementing some really interesting strategies out there. Also, the V2 Ray and the X-ray communities, Project X, are also always doing some really innovative work, and we're at Lantern, we're working on collaborating more closely with a lot of these groups. So again, I think a lot of the innovations that can happen now have more to do with these cross-organizational collaborations, and both at a human level and at a code level.
Well, interesting conclusions, and I think the video turned out pretty cool. Using one tool as an example, we learned about trends in the field of censorship circumvention. If you like this format, be sure to like it. I'll try to do something similar about other services. I enjoyed talking to Adam. Leave comments about whom and what you'd like to see next. Don't suggest Elon Musk. I'm afraid he's out of reach. And love each other, it's now vital, and remember, in the end, everything will be fine. This is me, Vova Lomov, and the Tech Talk channel.